Welcome back to Surviving and Thriving, where we share with you the things that we have learned as we have transitioned our family from struggling to survive disease to thriving, right smack dab in the midst of it, in the hopes that something that we share with you will help you, enlighten you, and encourage you as you transition your family from struggling to survive disease to thriving, right smack dab in the midst of it. If you are a parent and you are dealing with health issues in your body while raising young children at home, know that there will be challenges. It's not always easy, but that you can do it, and your children can still have a great childhood, a good life, right in the midst of it. But it will take effort and work on your part as well as theirs. Um, Children love their parents. Even if you're a bad parent, isn't it amazing the unconditional love that a child has for their parents? And so, with that, whether you're a good parent or a bad parent, your child will have mixed emotions. They will go through emotional roller coasters with what you're going through. Even if you're shielding them from telling them all the things that you're going through, they are still going to feel some things. And every child will deal with their emotions differently. And so, as a parent, it is important that you study your children, you watch your children, you know your children. Sometimes you might want to lie to yourself, but you know them, and you know what they're doing before they're going to even do it. So you know your children patterns and you know your children ways. If you don't, that would say that you're probably not a very active parent, and you're not really involved in the life of your children. And if you're not, I would advise you to go ahead and make the changes and become involved, because all the excuses you have for not being involved does not pan well with children. It doesn't pan out in the end. And when your children get older, you won't have the relationships that you're going to want or desire. You may think that you don't need them, or that it's okay. But I have found with everyone that I have known that are older, they have a lot of regrets. And if you know anything about me, and if you've been watching any of these videos, I believe in living with no regrets. Be a good parent, be an active parent, and be involved in your children's lives. Now, let's go back. So if you are a good parent, you know your children's behavior, you know your children's ways, and you always pay attention to it for any slight, subtle differences that may come in their communication or in their behavior. You pay attention to those things, because sometimes those little differentiations that you might see may be them displaying to you what they're going through. So some kids may internalize it and they may get really quiet. If you have a talkative kid, they get really quiet. If you have a quiet kid, that becomes very talkative. If you have an active kid that is not so active, or a really introverted child that becomes very extroverted, those are all things that's telling you that they're dealing with something on the inside. They may eat more, they may get headaches more, stomachs might hurt. If something serious going on and they're concerned and they're worried, they might start saying that they're not feeling well. They don't have a fever or anything like that, they just feel icky and sick. That may be them trying to handle all that is going on with you. You may have some children who may try to take on more responsibility, be very adult-like, and try to help out more. You may have some children who may try to regress and act more childlike. You have to pay attention to these things, you guys. Instead of just getting on them and yelling at them and fussing at them or trying to correct the behavior, sometimes that could be their way of letting you know that I am trying to internalize the fear, internalize the uncertainty, internalize the hurt or the pain or whatever it is that they're feeling, because their parents is going through something that is very traumatic for them. And sometimes you can overlook it or just try to discipline something out of them, and you're not getting to the source of it, and you can ruin a good relationship with a child or send a child in a direction they don't want to go in. You can have a real studious child, a very good child, a very obedient child who becomes very rebellious. It's not that they're rebelling against you or rebelling because they're rebellious. they're displaying what's going on in the inside of them. So when you see those things that are going on with them, pay attention to it and act upon it. I would always suggest that you act with wisdom, that before responding, you take the time to think about it, talk it out with your spouse if you have a spouse, or with someone who has great wisdom. But think it over and see how you want to respond to this. And always talk to your children about what they're feeling, what they're going through, and help them to learn how to deal with it. Now, if helping them learn how to deal with it is a bit much for you, or sometimes, what you're going through is much for you, you don't know how to deal with it, how you can help your kids, that's when it's a good time to get help. And, I believe in selective help. Just because everybody has a title does not mean that they're qualified to help you, or that that's the help that they want. Just because people are older than you don't mean that they have more wisdom than you. So be selective. Get good help, and get help that will protect your children and not go and tell all their business everywhere, or use it against them at a later time in life. But you want to protect your children. Pay attention to the behavior patterns. And when you see a behavior pattern, you want to talk with them. Have open communications. Let them be able to express their feelings. Help teach them strategy and tools that they can use to not internalize, but to deal with the emotions that they're going through, because these are life skills they're going to need in life. And as parents, it's our job to teach them that. So try to help them to deal with that. Also, if you find that there's certain things that you're doing, like you're going to the hospital, they're waking up that you're not home, you're in the hospital, or if you're in the hospital a lot and as they're having a hard time dealing with that, or surgeries or something like that, start finding things that you can do to occupy their time to make those transitions and those times easier for them. So sometimes you might want to lighten up on some of the load that they're going through. Make sure they have other things that they could be a part of. Give them some fun things to do, but put their mind on something else, because it might help them to go through, what your family is going through at that time. But be aware, cover your children, love your children. Your children are still your children, and they still need you. It is not their responsibility to be there for you emotionally and mentally. It is still your responsibility to be there for your children emotionally and mentally. So cover your children, pay attention, and cover them. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Remember, in all things, do you, because your family dynamic is different than my family dynamic. So do what's best for you and your family at all times. Until next week, bye.